When Donald Trump sat in her section, she had no idea her world was about to turn upside down. Denise adjusted her apron, scanning the bustling crowd at the small cafe in the heart of Atlanta. It was nearing 6 p.m. when the evening rush typically began to wane, giving her a chance to catch her breath before the night shift. For many, this cafe was just another stop on their way home from work, a place to unwind with a coffee or a quick bite. But for Denise, at 32, this cafe was her anchor. She managed the demands of this job while raising her 4-year-old daughter, Lily, alone. Every dollar she made here was crucial for their modest 2-bedroom apartment and the ever-growing expenses of raising a child. Denise moved with a practiced ease from one table to the next, her smile a mask for her tired feet. The regulars knew bits of her story, enough to offer an occasional sympathetic nod or an extra tip when they could. Denise, however, never solicited pity. Life had taught her resilience. Her only path was forward movement. The chime of the door caught her attention. Denise glanced up, expecting one more weary commuter. Instead, a man entered with a distinctive air of authority, his presence commanding the room. He sported a tailored suit that seemed oddly out of place in this casual setting, his hair an unmistakable shade of orange. It took Denise a heartbeat to recognize him. Donald Trump, the Donald Trump. Her breath caught. She wasn't one for celebrity obsession, but this encounter was different. Trump was a figure of debate, someone whose name her late grandfather used to bring up during political discussions over dinner. For a moment, nostalgia and shock mingled in her thoughts. Trump chose a seat at a secluded table near the window. Denise realized it was her turn to serve him, her heart rate picking up not just from the recognition, but from the surreal nature of the moment. She grabbed her notepad and pen, steadied herself with a deep breath, and approached. As she neared, she noticed his hands, manicured and resting on the table, his gaze intense yet unreadable under the shadow of his cap. He looked up as she arrived, his face composed. "Good evening," Denise started, her voice surprisingly calm. "What can I get started for you today?" He gave the menu a cursory look before deciding. "Just a coffee, black, and a slice of your apple pie," he said. Denise scribbled it down, her hands shaking slightly. Not just from the encounter, but from the weight of her daily grind. As she turned to leave, Trump's voice halted her. "Busy night?" he asked, his tone more conversational than she'd expected from him through TV screens. "It's getting there," she replied with a faint smile. "Keeps me on my toes." He nodded, an unexpected warmth in his eyes. "You handle it well. Not everyone can manage a place like this with such grace." Denise was taken aback, unsure how to process a compliment from such an unexpected source. She thanked him, her smile broadening before she returned to place his order. The cafe had quieted down a bit, but Denise couldn't help stealing glances at Trump's table. He drank his coffee slowly, almost pensively, like a man lost in thought rather than rushing through a meal. His presence seemed to fill the room with a curious tension, as if each moment was charged with potential. Once his order was ready, Denise brought over the pie and coffee, setting them down with care. "Thank you," Trump said, his voice sincere. "You're welcome," she managed, trying to act nonchalant. But the interaction felt charged, memorable. As she continued her duties, she noticed Trump wasn't in any hurry. He seemed to savor each bite, and each time their eyes met, he offered a nod, an acknowledgement that felt oddly personal. After finishing, he signaled her back with a gesture. "Everything all right?" Denise asked, her voice steady. "Perfect," he answered, his smile reaching his eyes. That pie was something special. She laughed softly, the praise unexpected yet appreciated. "I'll let the baker know. She'll love to hear that." Trump paused, looking at her with an intensity that felt like he was seeing through to her core. "You've got something special, Denise. You remind me of someone from my past, someone who worked hard but never lost their spirit." Denise felt a flush of warmth mixed with confusion. "Thank you. I guess I'm just trying to do what I can," she said, her voice soft. He nodded, his expression thoughtful. "That's the hardest part, isn't it? Just doing what you can." He then pulled out his wallet, placing some bills on the table with a folded note. "Keep the change," he said, standing to leave. "Read this later." Denise watched him leave, the bell above the door ringing his exit. She stared at the note, curiosity and apprehension battling within her. However, duty called, and she tucked it away for later, her mind racing. After her shift, alone in the quiet of the back room, Denise unfolded the note with trembling hands. Inside, she found words of encouragement, acknowledgement of her hard work, and a check for $5,000. Her knees buckled at the sight of it, tears springing to her eyes. It wasn't just the financial relief, it was the recognition, the feeling of being seen by someone so high profile that overwhelmed her. The note read, "Dear Denise, in the brief time I've been here, I've seen your strength and dedication. It's a reminder of the everyday heroes among us. Use this as you see fit, for you and your daughter. You're doing something right, and I see it." Donald Trump. Denise sat there, the weight of his words and the possibilities they brought crashing over her. She thought of Lily, of the small but significant improvements this money could bring to their lives. But more than that, she felt a renewed belief in herself, in the power of being acknowledged. That night, Denise pondered over how to use this unexpected gift, knowing it was not just a financial boon, but a moment of human connection in an often indifferent world. She decided then and there to use part of it to start a small fund for other single parents in her community, hoping to pass on the kindness she had been shown. The rest would ensure a better future for Lily, perhaps even a small business of her own one day. Days turned into weeks, and Denise's life began to shift. She used some of the money to fix the leaky roof in their apartment, something she'd been putting off for months. She also started a savings account for Lily's education, dreaming of the opportunities her daughter could have. With the remaining funds, Denise began a modest initiative called Community Care, where she would help other single parents with groceries or emergency repairs. Word of her endeavor spread through the local community, and soon people were coming to the cafe not just for the food, but to learn about or contribute to community care. Denise found herself not just serving coffee, but also serving hope, a role she grew into with pride. One evening, as Denise was closing up the cafe, her phone rang. It was an unfamiliar number. "Hello, is this Denise?" a voice asked. It was from someone at Trump's office, following up on the visit. They were planning a feature on local heroes for a new initiative, and Denise's name came up. "Mr. Trump was very impressed with you," the voice said. "We'd like to do a small segment on your story and the work you're doing with community care." Denise was speechless. Having her story shared could mean more help for those she aimed to support, but it also meant stepping into a spotlight she had never sought. After a moment, she agreed, seeing it as another opportunity to help others. The feature was modest but impactful. It brought attention to her small cafe and her community project, leading to donations and local business partnerships. Denise even received a letter from Trump himself, acknowledging the feature and encouraging her to keep pushing forward. Years passed, and Denise's cafe became known not just for its coffee, but for its heart. Lily grew up watching her mother turn a simple encounter into a legacy of kindness. Denise still worked long hours, but now with a sense of purpose that went beyond survival. On Lily's 10th birthday, Denise handed her a small wrapped box. Inside was a key to a new car, something Denise had saved for, symbolizing not just mobility, but the journey they'd been on together. As they celebrated, Denise looked around her cafe, now adorned with pictures of community members who had been helped by community care. She remembered that day when Donald Trump walked in, changing her life in ways she could never have predicted. It wasn't just about the money or the recognition. It was about seeing the potential in every act of kindness, no matter how small, to create waves of change in the world. One day, Denise decided to expand community care into a more structured nonprofit organization. She worked with local lawyers to set up the legal framework, and with the help of a few volunteers from the community, they formalized the initiative. They began hosting monthly events at the cafe where people could come for free meals, community support groups, and even workshops on financial literacy or parenting. The cafe's atmosphere transformed. It became a hub for community interaction, a place where stories were shared and support was given and received. Denise's reputation grew, and she was often invited to speak at local schools and community gatherings about the power of community and personal resilience. Lily, now a teenager, was actively involved in community care events, She had seen her mother's work from the sidelines and now took on responsibilities like organizing the kids' activities during these gatherings. Denise watched her daughter grow into a compassionate leader, proud that the values she had instilled were taking root. One afternoon, a reporter from a national news outlet visited the cafe, having heard about Denise's story through the grapevine. They did an extensive feature, highlighting not just Denise's journey, but the impact of community care on Atlanta's underserved communities. This feature led to a surge in donations, allowing community care to expand its services even further, including setting up a small scholarship fund for local students. The scholarship fund was named after Denise's grandfather, who had always believed in education as a way out of hardship. It was a poignant tribute, and Denise felt his presence and approval in every step she took. As community care grew, Denise received an invitation to speak at a conference in Washington, D.C. on community leadership. Nervously, but with Lily by her side, she attended. There she met other community leaders, each with their own stories of transformation and impact. Denise shared her journey from serving coffee to Donald Trump to building a network of support within her community. Her speech resonated with many, leading to partnerships and collaborations that would bring more resources to Atlanta. Back home, with the cafe now a beacon of hope, Denise decided it was time to give back in another way. She started a mentorship program for young single parents, offering them not just financial aid, but also guidance on balancing life's challenges. This program became one of Community Care's most cherished initiatives, as it directly addressed the struggles Denise had once faced. Years later, on a quiet evening, Denise sat with Lily, now preparing for college, reflecting on their journey. It all started with one unexpected visit, Denise mused, her eyes misty. One moment can change everything. Lily smiled, looking around at the cafe filled with warmth and laughter. And it's not just about what we've done here, she added. It's about showing others that they can do it too. Denise nodded, her heart full. From a simple act of recognition to a community-wide movement, her life had turned into a testament to the power of kindness, perseverance, and community. And so, whenever a new customer walked through the door of her cafe, Denise greeted them with the same warmth and grace, knowing that each person could be the start of another story, another wave of change.